Welcome listeners, you've tuned in to Up Close at QuinteALIVE. Today we introduce you to our third choice for 2014's 10 Most Fascinating People of Quinte, a charismatic couple that blazed a trail in Prince Edward County for the last 10 years and won the hearts of almost everybody who ran into them. We speak of no other than Sherry and Richard Karlo. Unfortunately, we only interview Sherry Karlo today, Richard having passed away last November 2014. The community and his wife, no less, mourn his loss terribly. However, let's learn how Sherry is carrying on his dream on good, solid ground. I give you Sherry Karlo. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
It's so great of you and so brave of you to meet with us this morning. It's January 2nd, 2015. What a nice way for us at QuinteALIVE to ring in the new year, to meet you. Beautiful Sherry Martin at Karlo Estates. Should we toast to a great year and to Richard?
To Richard and to 2015.
And Karlo.
To Karlo.
What is this?
This is our latest release. This is our 2013 Sangiovese, which was the last wine that Richard made, and he actually approved the label on the day that he passed away.
Wow. That's a wonderful thing. And it has interlocking hearts, you were saying?
Yeah, so we chose this one to represent eternal love.
Aw. And this is back in 2013, or is that the year of the harvest?
It was harvested in 2013, and it was just released in time for Christmas in this year in 2014.
Oh, so he knew this was his swan wine.
Well, he has a number of ones that he's been working on. He has we're coming out with a Nebbiolo, and we have a couple other funky things like a Petite Syrah. But this was the one that happened to be ready, and you know, he was sending me emails at 4 in the morning when he was awake thinking about things, and he would say, check the Sangiovese, check the Nebbiolo. So we checked it, and it's absolutely beautiful. So we were very happy.
I'm curious, was he emailing you when he was ill?
Yes.
So he was just as energetic and
Absolutely.
full of creativity as he was ill.
Absolutely. He would be going into radiation sessions and being on the cell phone and making deals and directing people all the way through. And all the way through, he was a complete trooper and very positive and giving and outgoing and productive all the way to the end.
I'll not my wine, though, to be honest.
Right. We stopped to ferment with some overproof alcohol, essentially.
Okay.
I read a little bit about your meeting him, how much he romanced you and how much he didn't want to be high maintenance and tolerated his carpaccio.
Yes.
Even though you were a vegan.
That's right, yeah.
How did he find you? Or did you find each other? Who found who? What happened? When did this happen?
Well, it's kind of a almost embarrassing story.
That's a good one.
We actually met on Lavalife. I'm a single mom, and I was actually a little too old for him. He's 10 years my senior, but he was looking to have children, and he wasn't looking at single moms because he wanted to have children.
He was 10 years your senior, and you were too old for him.
That's right.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
And that's because, you know, he was in his mid-40s when we met, and he was looking to have children, so obviously you can do the math. But I winked at him first.
Where did you wink at him?
On
Lava.
On Lavalife.
Right.
Because, of course, you know, I liked his profile and that sort of thing. We both had wine as a common interest, which I think that was part of the thing that had Lavalife, you know, do the equation and have us meet up together.
So it does work.
It did for us.
So was it love at first, a blind date?
It was. He actually came into my neighborhood, and I met him at a wine bar. And as soon as I saw him come into the place, I was interested, and I was just, you know, kind of taken aback by his stature and his kingliness. And yeah,
I heard you say that, kingliness. Yeah, he's 6'4".
That's right, 6'4", size 15 shoes. Really, he proves that giants definitely do exist. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He was always well proportioned, so when you look at him, he doesn't look much bigger than other people, but it's not until you see photographs of him with other people that you realize just how big he actually was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? And I heard and read, because I'd never got to meet Richard. It's funny how QuinteALIVE, myself, you, and possibly Richard, we were tweeting each other days from our launch in April 2012, and here we are. It's just so odd.
Serendipity.
Yeah, it is serendipity. I was thinking the same word. And you were both so kind and flattering to us, and we just started. We were just a zygote, you know?
Aww.
And that's not even why we're here, but I never got to meet him, and I regret it. I should have pushed harder.
Yeah.
Back to his size, the size of his heart. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Give me some quick bullet points on defining moments that show people what a great heart he has.
There's actually a story told at his funeral by one of his best friends. When they were teenagers, Richard used to hang out when they would go camping at the wood pile, because the deal was you would pay $5 for an armload of wood, and he had such a great heart he would just stay there all day and help people take armloads of wood back to their campsites, because he was so much bigger than everyone. He could take more wood for them, so he was just generous with his time. And I mean, he did that all the way through his time here in the county. I mean, people would come to talk to him, other winemakers or people just starting out in the industry, and ask him questions, and he was always really, really generous with his time and his knowledge, and he never really believed in the concept of proprietarial information. He just thought the county was such a great place, and there was room for everybody, and he wanted to see it succeed. So he believed that if we all succeed together, what's good for everybody is good for us, type of thing.
So wise.
Yeah.
Was he always that wonderful, or did something happen to him after he left the auto industry?
Yes, I always would tease him that he really knew how to swear well.
He
learned that in automotive. But
not on camera, though.
No, and he would rarely ever, it was usually at inanimate objects. He would rarely ever swear at people, but it was few and far between. But when it did happen, you didn't want to be around. But
what frustrated him the most?
It was usually cell phones that didn't work. But yeah, he was always a really unusual thinker, always thinking outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's pretty much the same width all the way across.
Right.
And they all there's a fulcrum in the arch, and all the rocks point towards the fulcrum. Right. So they're either slightly wedge shaped, or they've got little shims in them.
Right.
And
started out making wine with his father, because his father is Estonian, and as most Europeans, they make their own wine. So he started out making wine with his dad back in the 60s and 70s, more so the 70s, I guess, from kits. But he was quickly becoming frustrated that he wasn't getting the complexity in his kit wines that he was tasting from the LCBO and from commercial wines that he was trying. So at a young age, in his early 20s, he started importing grapes from Niagara and California, and turned his basement into a garagista winery for personal consumption.
That's great.
It was always good to be his friend. He always had way more wine than he knew what to do with. So by the time I met him, he was living in a 4-bedroom home in the woods in Ajax, and it was like walking into a wine cellar with a 4-poster bed. Every single room had wine at different stages.
Is there
of completion.
a basement reserve somewhere?
Yeah, we do have a library of some of the pre-Karlo Estates wines. But he, when I met him, we were just, saying, he had always had a sense that he wanted to have a winery as his lifestyle at some point. In his 20s, he traveled for business to California, and he saw a lot of the wine caves there in the mountains and the convivial lifestyle, and he just knew right from then that he wanted to have that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So he worked in the automotive industry, which, as you know, is a very high-pressure industry, for over 20 years, just patiently biding his time and saving his money until he could start his own winery. But he was able to do it because he was a partner in an engineering firm. So he started out as a draftsman. He worked his way up to becoming the president. And, in 2008, the automotive industry kind of went kaput. We had planned on doing it a little later, but we decided he better make the jump then. So,
but this is a jump you two made together, right? You came to Prince Edward County, found the land, right?
That's right.
So you started the dream together.
That's right. So when I met him, there was all this wine everywhere, and my background's marketing and advertising. I'm like, well, why don't we like sell this stuff so we can support your habit? Like, we need some. He just kept making it. I'm like, we got to sell it so that we can move it along, So it was kind of like it was really his idea to begin with, but it's something that I helped him get involved, like to figure it out, but. He basically courted me by saying, well, why don't you come out to the county with me and look for vineyard land? So we would do that. In fact, there are 3 members of the Pickering Wine Guild who are now having wineries in Prince Edward County. So Richard, of course, has Karlo Estates. Dan Sullivan started Rose Hall Run. And since then, Dave Gillingham has started Domaine Darius. And they're all like fabulous winemakers, but one of our first dates was Dan had bought his land and he was doing a tasting out at his winery, and he invited Richard to come out for this tasting. So Richard did, and it was kind of funny because I was quite a novice back then. I didn't know that you're not supposed to wear perfume to a wine tasting.
Oh, I'm wearing perfume today, and we're tasting wine.
There you go. It must be very subtle because I am not picking it up. But anyway, so that was one of my first lessons in wine tasting was I'd shown up with perfume, and he had to kind of say to me, the other winemakers here want to smell the wine, not your perfume. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was neat. And I know a lot of people, they come here to the winery and we talk about wine and they say, wow, you know so much about it. And really it's just from 10 years of hanging out with Richard. He was a walking encyclopedia of wine.
That was my next question. Did you gather up the knowledge by osmosis?
Pretty much. Like, it was just from hanging out with him and talking to him. Like, he was always talking about wine and grape growing and how to build.
Did you guys talk about wine in bed too?
Well,
on the pillow, I mean?
We drank it. I mean...
So it was really an ongoing 24-hour passion.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that we found was a bit of a challenge, was how do you turn it off?
How do you turn it off?
Yeah, because we were always talking about the plans for the future and strategies and just, what wine we're working on, how we're going to market it, all sorts of things.
Handling your loss so beautifully. I mean, you're coursing ahead. Your work is keeping you focused, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we both felt very passionate about what our plans were for this place, and I feel...
That's okay.
I feel by doing it, it helps to honor him and continue his legacy, and I want to make him proud.
Yeah, oh, I bet you he is. I bet you he is. I bet you he's laughing right now, giggling, because that was your favorite thing about him, wasn't it?
Yes. I've never, his laugh was quite a big, booming, belly full kind of laugh, and people always said that they could hear him before they would see him. I remember one time we were at Easton Main Restaurant, and the kitchen had sent out a question from the back because someone had asked, is Richard Karlo here? Because they could hear him laughing in the front, all the way to the back of the kitchen.
He was a jolly man, wasn't he? He didn't suffer fools.
No, absolutely not. He was a very down-to-earth, genuine person, and a very smart fellow, and
loved by many, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He was very generous with his time and his expertise and his knowledge, and he wasn't a big ego-oriented person.
So when he learned he was ill, he started getting you ready for the future?
He did, yes. We've always worked together on the business right from the beginning. Like, we designed the logo together, and we looked for the land together.
Which is very nice.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we've always been working on the business together, and but he did, start getting me to do more of the presidential type of tasks so that I could learn.
Become the big cheese. Yeah. Isn't that wonderful? So how would Richard want to be remembered?
That's a good question. I think that he enjoys that people really loved his wine and thought that he was a good winemaker. That was important to him. And so you're going to get me going again. Oh, no,
I'm sorry. You're going to get me going, so let's just both do it.
There you go.
Let's have a sip on that one.
Cheers. I think it was very important to him to give people an authentic experience when they came here. He really valued, you know, the reviews that we got on sites like TripAdvisor. It meant a lot to him that within 2 years we were the #1 winery on TripAdvisor in Prince Edward County, and we're always in the top 3 in Ontario. So that meant a lot to him. I mean, he had won medals in every single competition he'd ever entered in over 25 years. But by the time he started his winery, he was kind of like, he was like, okay, that's fine, but you know, people don't really buy wine because it won a medal. So it wasn't as important to him. He was more concerned with buying wine or making wine that the general public liked, not so much making it for, you know, a specific sommelier or wine writer type of person, but he really, I think he would want to be remembered as a community person, because he felt very strongly about making the community a better place for everyone's benefit. Like, and he did things like that by, you know, we've built a road on the winery, on the estate, called the Millennium Way, which is a way of linking the winery to the Millennium Trail so that people can use the estate. Because we always felt like, you know, there's 93 acres here, and that's a lot of land. And I mean, in Europe, a villa is a house that has a front yard, a backyard, and a couple stories. Well, that's a house for everybody, right? And an estate is run by a village. So we felt like, you know, just because we happen to win the gene pool lottery, or like our circumstances are great, doesn't mean that we shouldn't share what we have with everybody. So it was really important to him to build that road so that people could come onto the land and enjoy the estate. And you know, I think he'd want to be remembered as a leader who was passionate about specific issues, like keeping industrial wind turbines out of Prince Edward County. He always felt that the county is a historic site for Ontario that should be preserved the way the Northern Lake District is in England, because this is really the cradle of our country. I mean, and it's such a fantastic region. I mean, people search throughout the world for limestone soil to grow their grapes in, and we have it right here. And the limestone that's here in the county is actually 4 times as old as the limestone in Burgundy, France. So the thinking is that once the grapes are fully mature at around 25 years, that our wine should rival any in the world, because we have 4 times as much complexity.
So let's finish on this question. How has Richard changed you?
Oh, wow. Such questions, my goodness. Well, you're just trying to make me cry, aren't you? No.
Well, that should be a happy one.
Yeah, but it's just...
or maybe how you changed him. I should also ask that, but how did he change you?
He taught me a lot about business, about how relationships are the most important thing
In the world.
Yeah. and that being genuine and being respectful and finding what's good in people and encouraging them. It's just he's always such an inspiration to me.
Now you're getting me crying.
Yeah. He was just really wise in how he was able to motivate people and bring out the best in them, and just helps, you know. Let's just stop for a second.
Okay.
There was a lot of kind of Richardisms that he taught me about things like, you know, and they're quotes that other people have said and things that he'd pick up along the way, but there was things like, you know, don't make other people wrong. Of course, always, you know, stay positive and focus on the positive. But just, you know, all sorts of things like do it now, and it's the starting that's the key. Because, you know, and things about like taking action is the most powerful thing. I mean, you can think of all sorts of amazing things, but if you actually don't put it into action and do it now, in the now, I guess he had a really great sense of living in the present and making the best of right now, and getting the most that he could get done. Like he would always amaze people when people would come here and they would look around and go, wow, like you guys are always doing such improvements. You always are moving forward so quickly, and that's because he was just so passionate and
full of energy,
fanatical about working. Like he just wanted to achieve so much. And
how about you? How did you change him?
How did I change him?
You obviously filled a hole in his big heart. That's a big hole.
Yeah.
You're tall too, aren't you?
Well, I think I think I contributed a lot to help him achieve his dreams and to bring them into fruition by helping him to create things like, you know, things like actually doing the logo and doing the label design and setting the environment up and allowing him to focus on the winemaking side of the business while I would focus on the marketing side of the business. So we made a really good team because...
One piece of advice that really stuck with me over the years when I worked a long time ago with a gentleman by the name of John Gower, who was the original inventor of the ATV, is he said, in life, just bite off more than you can chew and just keep chewing.